no surprise that Dillon Gabriel, guys, will be the number 2 quarterback. Shedeur Sanders will be the 3. He will likely dress on game day as the emergency, which is the way things are done these days. Then there are only 3, Joe Flacco being the starter, because yesterday, Charles, Kenny Pickett got dealt to the Raiders. This deal made too much sense for both teams. First off, from a Raider perspective, Pete Carroll said on Sunday they need an experienced quarterback. Aiden O'Connell is out for 2 months with a broken wrist. Well, this is it. 5th-round pick for a guy that has made 25 starts, has 8 fourth-quarter comebacks. It's actually a pretty good value. And also from the Browns' perspective, you're getting back the pick you gave to Philly. And 4 is too many. They like Kenny Pickett. And I really do believe that he had a very good shot at winning the starting job, if not for the hamstring injury. But this clears the way. This makes it easier. And this, with injuries at running back and injuries at linebacker, you need that extra roster spot. In essence, you're getting back the pick that you used to draft Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Bear with me. You sent DTR to Philly with a 5 for Kenny Pickett. You drafted DTR with a 5. Charles, you're getting the 5 back. Like, you're made clean and you could go into the season.
Yeah, I mean, general manager Andrew Berry has had a few trades where, he's kind of come up. You think of like the Amari Cooper trade. They made out when they got more back from Buffalo than what they sent Dallas. Now, granted, they paid, the salary, but I feel like Andrew Berry's been pretty savvy, with some of these trades for later round picks. And I think the front office there, the coaching staff, I think you have to be happy with this situation from the standpoint of you drafted 2 quarterbacks, one in the 3rd, one in the 5th, obviously Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. And going into the preseason, you're thinking to yourself, well, hopefully one of these guys shows enough to, give us some confidence, some ease going into the regular season with one of them as a backup. Now, of course, as Andrew said, I think ideally when this all came together initially, the thought process was that Kenny Pickett would be someone that could vie for that starting job with Joe Flacco. Obviously, injuries derail that. So then what's your upside? Once injuries derail it, both of the rookies could have bottomed out. They both could have been terrible in the preseason. And then what ends up happening, you're going to have to hang on to Kenny Pickett. You're going to have to hang on to 4 quarterbacks. You're going to have to basically set off into the season without recouping that draft pick as well. But now I think you've got Flacco as a starter, but you also now have a viable developmental player in Dillon Gabriel, where if, again, we talked about planting that seed in the preseason, if this breaks down moving into the regular season, there's reason to now look at Dillon Gabriel and say, let's get a look. Let's see what this guy looks like now that we've seen him be productive in the preseason. So I think if you're the Browns, it's the best case scenario out of not great circumstances with the injuries in the preseason.
Yeah, and I was saying yesterday on this show at the end that the Dillon Gabriel story has been totally overshadowed, and we get why. Shedeur takes up all the oxygen in the room there. But the fact is, the Browns drafted this guy in the 3rd round, and a lot of people snickered at it and said, oh, he's not big enough. He doesn't have a big enough arm. And what has Dillon Gabriel done this preseason? He's balled out. Like, he's looked really good. The accuracy, anticipation, timing, the processing, it is all already at an NFL level for him. I don't know if physically he's ever going to be there to be a really good NFL starter, but everything else has looked really good so far. The offense has been moving. He's been productive. And I think the Pickett trade just shows how much confidence they have right now in Dillon Gabriel, at least to get a look at him. Like, I don't think any of the 3 of us expect Joe Flacco to start 17 games this year. It probably isn't going to happen. But now it's basically the Browns are saying we're comfortable with Dillon Gabriel taking the next set of starts, however many those are. I think this has been a great story, a fun story for a Browns team that has missed over and over and over at quarterback. They might have hit one here. I think he's just looked really, really good, impressive. I want to see him in a regular season. I want to see if this can carry over, because if it does, it could be franchise changing for the Browns. Honestly, I don't anticipate Gabriel's going to be a 10-year, 12-year starting quarterback in the NFL, franchise quarterback, but he's shown enough that he deserves that number 2 spot. There's no question about that.
They have, and
guys, can I do some set design here, some redesign? So I have an apology to make. Hey, Maddie, can you take the wide shot here, if you don't mind? So I'm at home, obviously, and sometimes you don't fix the set. So guys, I was just interviewing new Browns kicker Andre Schmidt for my Browns podcast. So, and I didn't take all the Browns stuff down. So I apologize. We'll just redecorate here on the fly. And when we go to commercial, I'll put some other stuff on the shelves. But yeah, I don't want to look like too much of a homer there. I just need a giant map behind me.
We wouldn't have seen it if you hadn't pointed it out. Just so you know, I mean, maybe obviously the wide shot it becomes a little more noticeable, but I don't think we were going to point it out, Andrew. You kind of ratted yourself out there.
Well, it's okay. Anything for the bit. Moving on. Let's get to New Orleans. So there's two ways to look at Kellen Moore's announcement today, and the announcement is Spencer Rattler, who was drafted last year in round 5 and started a few games last year, is his starting quarterback for the Saints week 1 when they open up against the Arizona Cardinals. Yay for Spencer Rattler, a guy who growing up in Phoenix years ago, and he faces his hometown team in week 1, was the subject of a behind-the-scenes documentary, and he was the star of the Elite 11. And look, we followed his career forever. Eventually went to Oklahoma, then to South Carolina, and here he is the starter. So that's good for Spencer Rattler. But the flip side of this is, if you thought Spencer Rattler, Charles, was going to be your week 1 quarterback, why would you spend a second-round pick, guarantee a second-round contract, to a player who is soon to turn 26 in Tyler Shough, a player who is, in essence, the same age as Trevor Lawrence? And I have no doubt he will start this year, but he's not going to start right out of the gate. And Rattler has a chance to really hold this job. And if he plays well, hold it for a while.
Yeah. And I think when we talked about this previously on the show, my thought process was, if it's close, you go with the guy you drafted, who you just invested the pick in. And as you said, soon to be 26, you get that moving, right? But when I thought about when the decision was made today, I reflected on it in a sort of New York Giants kind of way. When I look at the Giants, I'm like, okay, well, why are you starting Russell Wilson over Jackson Dart when Jackson Dart's looked well in the preseason? He's looked very good. He's looked very solid, had some flashes, and appears to me, if it was terrible circumstances, you could start him. I kind of feel like Tyler Shough is the same situation. The production was very even when you looked at it in the preseason. So I would have given the nod to Shough. But if I'm sitting there looking at the New York Giants with Russell Wilson and Jackson Dart and saying, you know what, just let's ease the rookie in. If you don't want to have something go wrong, break his confidence, let's just give him some time to absorb the speed of the NFL. Once the regular season starts, you don't have to push him into the starting lineup immediately. Why would I not feel that same way about the New Orleans Saints if we set the age to the side? That's what I would ask you guys. Let's set the age to the side.
But you can't, Charles.
You can't as big a problem with this.
You can't do that. That's the problem.
Okay, Frank, let me ask you this. If you feel like you drafted him and your thought process is, we can still get 10 years out of a guy if he's 25, 26 when we draft him. Nowadays, good quarterbacks can last in, deeper into their 30s. Does it really matter if you're starting him immediately because, oh man, he's 25, 26, when you're thinking in a 10-year time span anyway? Does it matter as much?
But I do agree with the logic there. But I think we both agree, and NFL teams think this way, and NBA teams think this way, Major League Baseball thinks this way. When you are already basically 26 years old and you've played parts of 7 college seasons, this is who you are. You're not maxing out anymore. You better be ready to play out of the box, like Bo Nix was last year. Had all that experience with him. And I think the fact that Tyler Shough couldn't beat out Spencer Rattler, who was a 5th-round pick last year, who did not play well, by the way. He did play better in the preseason. He earned that job. I watched every single snap of Saints preseason football, and man, that was depressing just to say that out loud. But Spencer Rattler,
second straight day, you've pointed out that you watched every snap. It almost seems like
it's harrowing.
You want sympathy.
Like this was bad times. Okay. But so the fact that Shough could not beat out Spencer Rattler, I think is just, and I've been saying this since they drafted him. That pick made no sense. Another difference between the Saints and the Giants. The Giants drafted Jackson Dart thinking this is our guy for the future. I don't know that the Saints necessarily should have thought that. Like this is, it was like, what were the odds that Tyler Shough was going to be their quarterback 5 years from now and be their franchise guy? I don't think it was very high. I think it was very high for Jackson Dart. I don't think it was high for Tyler Shough. He's a low ceiling 26-year-old quarterback. His rookie deal goes through his age 29 season. Like, that's crazy. I think that the fact that he missed is just going to be another Saints draft pick that they just lit on fire. This team has no blue chip talent under 27 years old, except really Chris Olave, who has concussion issues. They keep wasting draft picks on trading future draft picks, just screwing up draft picks in many ways. Like I think the Shough pick is going to be. I think this is just another setback for the Saints, who are looking at this massive rebuild now. Usually a rebuild can happen in 2 years, a year or two, whatever. It's the NFL. Things happen quickly. You look at that Saints roster, their draft picks they've had, the salary cap issues they have. This is a multi-year thing. And I just think that the Shough pick is kind of symptomatic of what's wrong with the Saints. Like, you drafted this guy in the second round with no plan. Like, you drafted a 26-year-old quarterback when you're a rebuilding team, and he can't even beat out Spencer Rattler. I think this is terrible for the Saints, to be honest with you.
To play devil's advocate, it might only be a couple of weeks, and a couple of weeks in the grand scheme of things, no one's going to get hurt. I mean, big picture hurt organizationally. Injuries, happen, and cross your fingers that they don't actually happen here. I also think, look, if he's not ready, he's not ready. That they had an opportunity here with 2 straight home games. It's the Cardinals, it's the Niners, whatever, but they're at home. And then they go on the road, the Saints do, and no one has any expectations for this team, I understand. But they go on the road weeks 3 and 4 at Seattle and at Buffalo. Those are not rookie-friendly places to throw Tyler Shough in if you think it's time to do that. But we'll see. That's Kellen Moore, a rookie head coach, his decision. All right.